Jóvenes nun somos, cantiamos Iquitur. Jóvenes nun somos, os molestam juventutem, os molestam senectutem, nos aperpetuamos, nos aperpetuamos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Os molestam juventutem, os molestam senectutem, nos aperpetuamos, nos aperpetuamos. Viva academia, viva profesores, viva academia, viva profesores, viva membram qualibet, viva membram qualibet, semesite flore, semesite flore. Viva academia, viva profesores, viva academia, viva profesores, viva membram qualibet, viva membram qualibet, semesite flore, semesite flore. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Os molestam juventutem, os molestam senectutem, nos aperpetuamos, nos aperpetuamos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Os molestam juventutem, os molestam senectutem, nos aperpetuamos, nos aperpetuamos. Viva academia, viva profesores, viva academia, viva profesores, viva membram qualibet, viva membram qualibet, semesite flore, semesite flore. Viva academia, viva profesores, viva academia, viva profesores, viva membram qualibet, viva membram qualibet, semesite flore, semesite flore. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Os molestam juventutem, os molestam senectutem, nos aperpetuamos, nos aperpetuamos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Cantiamos Iquitur, jóvenes nun somos. Os molestam juventutem, os molestam senectutem,
By virtue of the powers vested in me as the Chancellor of the University of Zululand, I hereby constitute this congregation for the conferment of degrees and awarding of diplomas and certificates. You may be seated.
Chancellor, Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, Chairperson of University Council, Ms. Nomarashia Kaluza in absentia, members of Council, Deputy Vice Chancellors, Professor Kunene and Professor Nomlomo, Deans of faculties, members of executive and extended management, members of Senate, Dean of students, all university staff members, President of Convocation, Mr. N.L. Nkwanyana, in absentia, members of Convocation and alumni, representatives from the Umkhwanazi Traditional Authority, chiefs of local traditional authorities. Today, Chief Umkhwanazi is amongst us. Mayors of the districts and local municipalities, SRC President and Secretary General of the SRC, Abakwa Kumar, the two of them, business partners, donors and sponsors, the university body, student body at large, parents, guardians, relatives. Most importantly, our graduates for this afternoon. I also acknowledge the presence of our guest speaker, Professor Nhlanhla Make. Molweni, Sanibonani, good afternoon. My welcome address is entitled, Reflecting on the Purpose of University Education. On behalf of the University of Zululand, it is with a sense of profound collective triumph that I welcome you to the 8th of the 10th series of 2023 graduation ceremonies that are lined up to take place, all of them this week. These occasions have become an annual ritual where all of us, graduates, parents, guardians, sponsors, society at large, as well as university staff, commemorate the pinnacle of the work we have done over so many years. Beyond the festivities, a graduation ceremony must be seen as a moment of deep reflection. It symbolizes a bridge we cross in a lifelong journey of human progress, from basic and foundational knowledge encountered and acquired during the first time we interact at the chalk floor, to the attainment of higher order knowledge, skills, and competencies that will keep us with capabilities for making a difference in society. In this sense, conferment or awarding of a qualification is not an end in itself. It is rather a motivation for lifelong learning that should bring up new imaginations for the development of better life for all, free from the shackles of poverty, inequality, and other forms of human strife. Indeed, the ideas of creating a better life for all are implied in the debates about the purpose of university education. At Unizulu, as we will illustrate later, we subscribe to a perspective which advocates and promotes a form of education that produces and disseminates knowledge and competencies which enable graduates to engage in meaningful and productive work aimed at enhancing the livelihoods of the people or the community at large. In this connection, we draw insights from thinkers such as Frantz Fanon, who advocates that, open quote, what matters is not to know the world. But he ends on saying to us, in the world through which I travel, I'm endlessly creating myself. The purpose of university education, driven by such thinking, must manifest at the three levels of society, the macro, meso, and micro. At the macro, a wider societal level, one of the main implications to derive from Fanon's words of wisdom is that the number and quality of graduates that exit universities must constitute the building blocks and catalysts to be deployed for the development of a learning society or a society that learns. Scholars like Han, 2019, have described a learning society as a model society in which the collective learning processes is prevalent, equipped with competency to solve the problems inside by itself through consistent emergent evolution and learning, close quote. Striving to achieve the status of a learning society is commended as a game changer in the transformation of a given political economy and the attainment of sustainable development. We therefore must look up to our graduates to become the promoters for the creation of a learning South African society. The melting pot for all this is at university or meso level. At Unizulu, we have embraced the responsibility to build a learning institution, one where continuous learning is used to transcend stifling preoccupation with survival demands and setting the organization on to a higher order service-oriented growth. The history of the University of Zululand attests to a trajectory that has been seen in institutions emerge from proverbial edge of an abyss poised between failure and success and evolving to become a rekindled university that is being set onto a path re-intervention anchored on an unexcelled vision of 2027 under the mantra of building Unizulu as a node for African thought. Launched in November 2022, we can appreciate the significance of the idea of African thought when we compare it with Western thought or the worldview. We can recall that in recent years, South African universities had to deal with the hashtags, student campaigns, and called for a decolonized university curriculum, describing the current curricula as Western-orientated and alienating and citing, among other things, the issue of Western-based literature to support learning. The students' movement also resonated with a growing body of contemporary academic intellectual currents that have been characterized the curriculum in an African universities as one of the main mechanisms by which colonial power continues to be exercised in ways that sustain the oppressive world order, much like what Steve Biko observed that, open quote, the most potent weapon of the oppressor is in the mind of the oppressor, close quote. But in another way, by continuing to subject students to a curriculum aligned to the oppressor, the colonizer achieves compliance through mental control or the way people think. Such a state of affairs is not only dehumanizing, it also clearly shows a purpose of education that is in dissonance with the objective needs and the interests of our people. In this way, the Unizulu Vision 27 envisages a nuanced understanding of the purpose of university education. It goes beyond a narrow conception of education, which produces employable but dehumanized human capital, to one that encompasses emancipatory and liberative functions. In other words, While university education can be used for subjugation, at Unizulu we keenly subscribe to the view that it also plays an important, preeminent role in the development of public consciousness in the generation of new knowledge and competencies that are necessary for meaningful functioning in a complex and ever-changing modern society. Inside the melting pot, the universities are individual students who, in final analysis, constitute the locus of investment in the decolonization and transformation efforts. It is at this micro level that transformative learning takes place and gets aggregated at societal level. In this connection, University of Zululand has continuously paid attention to the enhancement of graduate attributes. Our motivation has been to help students to acquire a set of personal qualities, competencies, and values over and above the cognitive skills of their disciplines. Cultivating graduateness includes the development of certain attitudes and orientations towards the labor market, self-development, and responsible citizenship. The purpose here is to strike a balance between education for marketplace and education for good citizenship, so that by the time a student exits university, she or he is a rounded individual. By allowing students to graduate, the university is therefore making a powerful statement about the individual's readiness to take up his or her rightful place as a productive citizen in an increasingly complex and unpredictable world. It is a world in which, on one hand, a graduate has to grapple with challenges of correcting the past by participating in the recalibration of development in terms of local indigenous populations in a way that reestablishes their dignity and self-determination. And on the other hand, championing in an exclusive way the so-called smart approaches to development in the context of the fourth industrial revolution, digital and technological advances. Therefore, there's no option to ignore, even choose to prioritize these imperatives of modern South African life as they have to become embedded in the purpose of university education. It is my greatest honor and privilege to announce that in 2023, we proudly graduating a total of 3,500 students, 3,078 which are undergraduate, 299 are honors, 73 are masters, and 50 doctorates. I think the university deserves a round of applause. Well done to the academic staff, well done to you as the graduate sitting over there. The quality of graduates we produce is as important as a number of that must successfully meet the requirements of their qualifications. In this respect, the purpose of university education is to achieve equity of student success. Unizulu, as a so-called historically disadvantaged institution, when I say so-called, maybe I need to declare, because the president of SRC challenged me during lunch and said, why? I have a denial that this university is historically disadvantaged. I said, no. I'm rebelling against being named historically disadvantaged when my disadvantage comes from the economy and the apartheid of the country. Well, when I'm called historically disadvantaged, it's like I've moved on. I am rebellious and rebelling against being named historically disadvantaged institution simply because I feel I am still disadvantaged. So I should not be historically, I should be disadvantaged institution so that the minister can give me more money. I hope he listens. But as a university, so-called historically disadvantaged. We have made huge strides towards flattening the statistical curve that was showing severe underperformance of the underprivileged students, who constitute most of our students. Our strategy of making student success the driving force of our teaching and learning practices is showing results. In one of his books, The Pedagogy of the Heart, a Brazilian educationist, Paulo Freire, wrote that, I quote, open quote, "I recognize the obstacles, but I refuse to resign in silence." This statement captures the spirit with which we are overcoming impediments of achieving equity to students' success. To you, graduandi, the future is beckoning. Embrace it. We wish you well, and we invite you to continue being part of this glorious university. Once again, a warm welcome and congratulations, and I thank you very much. Chancellor, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Nhlanhla Make. Professor Nhlanhla Make is a roving mentor, doctoral program of the NIHSS, which is the National Institute for Humanities and Social Sciences. He's proxy of the acting CEO of NIHSS. He's a language activist, a high school teacher, a one-time actor with Phoenix Players at Dokey House. He holds the following degrees: BA, UNIN, now University of Limpopo, Bachelor of Honors in Comparative Literature, University of Witwatersrand, Honors BA in African Languages, University of South Africa, MLit in Linguistics for Teaching of English Language and Literature, University, it's very difficult, but it's in UK. MLit in Victorian Studies, University of Kiel in UK, DLit at Phil, University of South Africa, a certificate in higher education management, University of Witwatersrand. He was admitted to the Golden Key International Honor Society in 2005 and received an NRF rating in October 2006. Professor Make has published more than 25 non-fiction and fiction books in Sesotho and English, several accredited articles, radio plays, study guides, poems, academic, polemical position articles, and memos entitled Barbarism in Higher Education. Once upon a time, in a university, several literacy awarding, including the Ernest van Heerden Creative Writing Award, Wits University. I'm laughing because Professor Make, when he writes these things, he stays. So I'm laughing because I've listened to some of his work and I've read some of his work. Make has held academic and managerial positions at the following universities: University of London as a lecturer, Wits, lecturer and professor, University of Pretoria in drama, Vista University campus principal, Northwest University director, University of Limpopo executive dean, University of South Africa professor in English studies. Make has held fellowships at Aarhus University in Denmark, on the Southern African Research Program at Yale University in US, Ernest Oppenheimer Fellowship at the University of Cape Town in South Africa, and Distinguished Scholar at the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. He served as a consultant for BBC Bush House, Nippon Japanese TV in London, BBC TV Manchester, TV Mining Qualifications Authority, Deloitte, and Torture as Senior Consultant Committee for the Restructuring of Judiciary and the SABC on Language and Culture. He also served in several language task teams under the auspices of the Department of Arts and Culture, the English National Language Board as a member and acting chairperson, member of Council of the English Academy of Southern Africa and Southern African Languages Association, to name but a few. He has served as a panel member of several book awards. For example, the Sunday Times Alan Patton Nonfiction Award, FNB Vista Awards and Book Awards of NIHSS. His latest publication is a translation of Machaba Mofokeng 1957's anthology of essays from Sesotho to English as In My Heart 2021, with a preface of introduction by Spivak and Simon Gigandi, respectively. I would like to acknowledge that the university would like to acknowledge the leadership of National Institute Humanities and Social Sciences for their contribution to the funding and development of our own Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences at this university. The following projects have been funded since the establishment of the NIHSS: funding for doctoral students and master's students, doctoral mentorship program, various research projects, including the BRICS research projects, the IKS and COVID project, which culminated into a book project with 36 scientifically researched papers. This is my appreciation as a Vice Chancellor to say we've worked together with your organization, Professor Make, and I want to promote and encourage that we continue to do so. As you see us graduating these beautiful people today, I hope next week I'll sign another MOU. Thank you very much.
Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, and all the honorable guests and officials of the university that have been mentioned in their hierarchy by the Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much for the generous introduction. I think after that introduction, one can only be an anticlimax. But let me start with an opening gambit. And my opening gambit is a short saying or a short sentence. And then I follow with the title of my address. I promise it's going to be very brief. It's not going to make you fall asleep. Now, the gambit that I want to open with, I can't remember in which book I read this or which publication, but it says that the longest distance from one point to another is to take the shortcut. That's what it says. But my brief address is going to be this short sentence or phrase: obeying the law of the unenforceable. Obeying the law of the unenforceable. Now, you graduates who are the most important today with your friends, families, and all those who have supported you and are here, and those who are not be able to be here because they could not come or because their lives did not allow you to reach your destination with them. But you also pay respect to them. Now, I'm not going to make you suffer undergoing what you did over the years of your studies, undergraduate and postgraduate up to the doctorate, to take you through a seminar or a lecture or tutorial. I'll just simply be anecdotal. Zenza nje imifanekiso emfishane ukuthi ngikwazi ukuthi ngifeze lokho ngifuna ukusho ngezithombe. I just want to make what I want to say figurative. Now, I was told by the invitation that I got here that I want to speak for 20 minutes. So I'm going to ask for a favor very quickly so that I don't squander my 20 minutes. I'd like somebody in the front row there, among the people who will be graduates in a few minutes, to raise your hand to be my referee. It's a gentleman with a bow tie. And these are my instructions to you, very brief. When I touch 18 minutes, you must raise your hand. And when I get to 20, you must say, shut up, old man, and sit down. That's all. Okay? Now, the phrase that I started with, obeying the law of the unenforceable, is a phrase that I that struck me when many years ago when I was reading a book by Martin Luther King Jr. It's entitled Strength to Love. It's a very short book, it's a monograph. And that phrase struck me, and I thought, this says far more than this book is saying, because obeying the law of the unenforceable is going an extra mile, is going beyond what is expected of you, going beyond the mandate that has been imposed upon you by your duty, your responsibility, your position, your office, and so on. Now, as I said, I'm going to be anecdotal. Let me start with the anecdote. I don't know, I can't remember where I read it now. I've come to an age where I don't care about footnoting. I'm no longer going to be held responsible for footnoting, but in my speech that I've prepared, I footnoted it. I read this anecdote about people who were in the midst of winter in the US. It can be very, very cold there, very snowy, and the temperature can drop below zero, far, far below zero. It was very cold. And some people decided to go to a supermarket very quickly and buy some items to come back home and relish and enjoy them. So they drove off into the stormy weather, and the lakes and rivers were frozen. And off they went, expecting to come back quickly and relax in the warmth of their home. And they never came back. They never came back. And they were looked for. People searched high and low. All those authorities that could do search work, investigative work, searched on, they could not find them. Spring came, summer came, autumn came, another winter, they were not found. But many years later, it was discovered, or the vehicle in which they were driving and their bodies were discovered at the bottom of a lake. And it had transpired that as they were driving along the road, they saw this lake and thought, oh, the surface is frozen. Let us take a shortcut and drive through here. And somewhere along the way, the snow cracked and their car was submerged in the water. And they were never seen again. Now, to me, that is an extended metaphor of the troubled times in which we live. Now, the difference that's going to happen after you've graduated here today, between you and those who've got no degree, it would not be that they don't have degrees and you have degrees. But the difference would be, what are you going to do with that degree to make a mark? What are you going to do with that degree to obey the law of the unenforceable? And for me, obeying the law of the unenforceable is genius. Genius in this sense. You are given a mandate, maybe say as a nurse, or as a doctor, or as an engineer, or as an accountant, or as an economist, or as an attorney, or whatever profession you take. And you've got your KPAs, key performance areas, or, whatever your job description says that you must do. Doing that correctly and rightly so, following procedures and principles and ethical issues, that is fine. You can go through with your performance assessment and all that and make it. That is fine. But what Martin Luther King Jr. is saying is that obeying the law of the unenforceable, doing that for which we shall not be punished for not doing, or doing that for which we shall not be prosecuted for not doing, for me, is what matters. Going an extra mile, spending a few hours as a nurse to look after your people, as a doctor to look after your people, as the accountant to make it a point that your figures are correct, that you are not influenced by creative accounting. As a politician, let me leave because I don't know what politicians do as an extra mile. But the only thing that I can say is that perhaps the best they could do to obey the law of the unenforceable is to lower the voltage of corruption and obfuscation. That is all I can say to them. But let me just give you a few examples of what I mean by genius and obeying the law of the unenforceable. When you look at people who are great achievers in the world, you'll find that, at least that is my perspective, they are not genius because of what is endowed in their DNA. They are genius because of what they do. When Einstein discovered how light works and speed, how he discovered his theories, it was not by observing once and saying, I see this is what is happening. My job is to teach at the university. I don't have to discover anything beyond what I teach, beyond the law of physics that I know. But he observed and observed and observed many times until he came up with the theory of relativity. If in another field, so in the field of evolution, you look at Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin did not have a degree. But what he did, through thorough observation of nature, through different creatures and trying to compare how perhaps the lizard looks like a crocodile and how other related animals would, in the eye of a person does not look carefully, may not look similar. He saw that similarity and traveled to South America and observed and came up with the theory of evolution. That is observing and obeying this law of the unenforceable, doing what you would not be prosecuted for not doing. Now, when you pass by KFC, remember, if you know, but if you don't know, let it be known unto you that Colonel Sanders was at 65, running a small business, and a highway had to be built, and his business was demolished. It was about 65, 66. I mean, by the time most of us are supposed to have passed their sell by age, he started now frying chicken. What I read is that it was rejected 600 times, but he persisted, he persevered, and the rest is history. Even a 6-year-old knows what is sold at KFC. That is what it means to observe, to repeat. In the 1980s, among the French philosophers, one who was outstanding was Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault flunked at one point in his graduate study. He failed, and people were shocked. How can a genius like this fail, like Foucault? But he readjusted his tactics and strategies. And in the 1980s, he was one of the most dominant of the 10 philosophers, French philosophers, that I can count. And it's very few people who study philosophy who do not know Foucault. Now that is what genius is, doing and repeating and revising and revisiting and restructuring and readjusting. That is what it means. After getting this degree, what the Vice Chancellor here has relayed to us as the mission and vision of the university does not end here. As Kennedy said, that we're at the side of the hill. We've got to climb up and see beyond. That is in speech, I think, in the Bednanet Glory. Now, if you were to ask anyone within living memory, and say within living memory, who is the most articulate of American presidents? I mean, I know most do not know Kennedy. I mean, Kennedy was one of the most eloquent speakers and all that. But within the last few years, I'm sure if I were to ask you, you'd say Barack Obama. Now, in the first of the biographies that were written by Barack Obama, I read in one part how that speech that was mesmerizing that he delivered on his inaugural address as the President of the United States, that speech could give you goosebumps. And if you are soft-hearted like some of us, a warm tear will roll down your cheek because of the power and the passion and the compassion and the energy and the commitment that he put in that speech. It was a speech that was almost perfect, even though in the humanities we know nothing like perfection. But when I read that book, it was said that that speech was rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed. And on the eve of the delivery of the speech, people were sitting down, listening to him rehearse the speech. And it says in the book, by the time they closed that session, it was at 80%. And some people were a little bit unhappy, advisors, saying that 80% is not quite. But some thought this is the best we could ever see. We've ever seen. But when he presented the speech, he was so eloquent that people said, this is 100%. But it is not because only of the DNA that is in him to be an orator. A person who's gifted in public speaking. It was not just that. It was repeating. It was rehearsing. It was revising. It was readjusting. It was amending. That is what it means for you, people who will be graduating in a few minutes' time, to go out there, look at the years that you have spent here, what you have gained from this university, and what you're going to do. If you're going to go out there and take shortcuts, you want to be a millionaire within a short space of time? You want to go for a 10 and get millions without delivering, without doing nothing for it? You're driving over a lake that is frozen. One day, the lake will crack and you will sink down there and you'll meet the Zondo Commission down there. But if you obey the law of the unenforceable, do what nobody will prosecute you for not doing, going that extra mile, you will sleep peacefully because you'll know that this degree is not mine, it's the degree that I have received because of people who have contributed in very many ways through their texts. These academics that are sitting here have spent nights preparing their lectures and seminars, the tutorials, the senior management of the university trying to restructure, to plan about the university at a strategic level. They spend sleepless nights preparing the mission and vision of the university, the values and the ethos of the university. If you go out there and make one big mistake, you will be in the front line. You know, South Africa, we admire mediocrity so much that even when our national team loses 3-1, they are given a space on the front page. They say that it was great because they did not lose 3-0. That is how we measure achievement here in this country. But getting the degree and sweating for it and working for it is worth the while that you invested in it. People out there are fighting to have degrees. They even claim them when they've got none. And even those that don't need them because they know the prestige and the respect that goes with the degree. For example, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey is a millionaire, isn't it? Or a billionaire. I don't know the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire. But she didn't need a PhD. She didn't need it, no. But she went out to do a PhD and wrote a thesis because of the honor that she knows goes with getting a degree. A few months back, we lost one person in the world who was designated a national asset. Edson Arantes de Nascimento, known as Pele. Pele was knighted. Pele achieved many things in his life. But in his autobiography, he says, there's one thing that bothered me, that I am not educated. I have got no degree. He went back to study. And he says in his autobiography, the professors didn't care that I was Pele the knighted. I was Pele, the greatest footballer on this planet. They didn't care. They treated me like anyone else. And he says, after being knighted, after all these awards that I received, the most glorious moment for me is the moment when I stepped onto that podium to receive the degree. That is why I convey my felicitations to you to have come this far. Because somewhere along the way, the road might have been dark, it might have been misty, the night might have been too dark and scary, and you might have thought of despairing and throwing in the towel. But the fact that you've made it this far, with the support of the senior academics here and academics there, management of the university, the registrar and his staff, administrative staff, you are here because because of the fact that you deserve to be here. But then beware of taking shortcuts. Because going back to the beginning, the longest distance from one point to another is taking a shortcut. If you dare take a shortcut, know that the consequences may be greater than whatever you'd have gained from taking a shortcut. It may not come now, it may not come in the next 5 years, it may come in 10, 20 years. Even sometimes when you are gone. Shakespeare says in Julius Caesar, the evil that men do leave after them, and the good is often interred with their bones. So you do whatever evil, you do whatever wrong, you think you are not seen. Even when you are gone, the evil that you do will live after you. And the little good that you would have done would be interred with your bones. So all I say to you, go an extra mile. obey the law of the unenforceable. Do that which you would not be prosecuted or ask questions if you do not do. That is the measure of genius. That is the measure of a person who is committed, a person who leaves a seed on this earth. And beware of one thing, complacency. When you are done, you've got your MA, your honors, your PhD, you think I'm done. No, that is only the beginning. I like this anecdote. It says in a book that at some point the Swiss were making 80% of all the watches in the world, and they were happy. We're at the top. And when somebody came with a digital watch, they didn't want to hear, and they took it to the Japanese. And in a few years' time, the Japanese were making 80% of watches in the world because of the complacency of the Swiss. The same thing happened with the BlackBerry phone. Remember the BlackBerry? It was the phone. If you had the BlackBerry, you had arrived. You had status. You didn't want to flaunt it, BlackBerry. What happened? When they said to the CEO of BlackBerry, let us move beyond BlackBerry and look at the touch screen. He said, no, this is the best. This is not the phone, this is the BlackBerry. What happened? The touch screen phone came. And what happened to BlackBerry? It died a natural death. Actually, it died a violent death. It died a violent death. Who can talk about the BlackBerry now? I sound already outdated and obsolete and ancient by talking about the BlackBerry because we got the touch screen. I will referee. Are we still okay? I'm still okay, fine. But then I shall not abuse the time simply for the sake of using the 20 minutes to the maximum, Mr. Vice Chancellor. I think it's the time to stop. But if you remember nothing else of what I've said, remember the car that was taking the shortcut through the lake. And the day you take a shortcut, I will meet you down the lake. Mr. Vice Chancellor, thank you.
Il mondo gira con me questa notte, piccoli passi che faccio con te. Se tu lo cuore seguo la luna, qualcosa mostri, qualcosa no. Il mondo gira con noi questa notte. E se stessi lontana da qui, un posto dove scoprire il mio cuore, sapere se la più amarti o no, e girerò, il cuore mio, assegna a te, e girerà la terra, girerà la mia vita, e un giorno lui si capirà. Girerà la mia vita e un giorno lui si capirà. Gerusalemme, Gerusalemme, live up your sin. happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus was. When he was my sins away. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. When Jesus was. When he was my sins away. Oh, happy day. Watch God and pray. Yes, watch God and pray. He taught me how to walk. Yeah. Watch God and pray. Yes, watch God and pray. Oh, happy day. Yeah. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, yeah, that's all, yeah. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy, yeah. Oh, happy.
Okay, okay, okay. Order in the house. Thank you very much. Chancellor, honored guests, I shall now proceed with conferring degrees and award diplomas and certificates. I request the candidates to take up their positions. I call now upon the Dean of the Faculty to present the candidates for various degrees and diplomas. I now have the honor to request the Dean of the Faculty, Professor Shokane, to present the graduates to you. Professor Shokane.
Chancellor, I request you to confer postgraduate degrees to the candidates as well as those persons in absentia whose names appear in the program.
By virtue of the powers vested in me, I confer the postgraduate degrees on the candidates whose names appear in the program.
Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you Doctor of Philosophy.
I confer the degree of Doctor of Philosophy on the candidate.
Dibopuwa Josephina Notsi. The title of her thesis is entitled An Investigation into the Cultural and Communal Significance of Geophagy Across Generations of Basotho Women, the case of Basotho women in Mafeking in Lesotho. The candidate was supervised by Professor M. Ndlovu and co-supervised by Dr. S.P. Shabalala. I'll request the supervisor to come forward and read the citation.
This thesis examines the cultural and the commercial significance of geophagy across different generations of Basotho women. To obtain an in-depth understanding of the nature of the cultural and the commercial significance of geophagy across generations of Basotho women, the candidate focused on women in Mafeteng. She deployed the indigenous knowledge systems theory to make sense of the meanings of geophagy from the standpoint and experience of Basotho women who participated in this activity on a daily basis. The specific indigenous knowledge system that the candidate used is called Eziko Sipheka Sisophula, a theory that is widespread among the Nguni people of Southern Africa. The findings of the study indicate that geophagy is not only common among Basotho women of different age groups, but also carries with it significant cultural and commercial values beyond the physical act of eating soil. These relate to its soothing taste, quelling of nauseous feelings, pleasant flavor, and the income generation possibilities for the poor, all which indicate that indeed geophagy is not a meaningless act, but something that embodies specific meanings that can only be understood from an insider perspective. The study has made a unique contribution to knowledge production by highlighting the significance of interpreting social phenomena with and from the perspective of the often marginalized community, a development that opens a new canvas for both the discourse of decolonization and indigenization. As noted by one of the examiners, this unique study is not only germane, but also timely and relevant as it weaves cultural issues with indigenous knowledge systems and economics. The examiner further encouraged the study to be published with immediate effect. The candidate was sponsored by the National Institute of Humanities and Social Sciences. The examiners were Dr. S.L. Bombom, University of Jos, Nigeria, Prof. J. Kruger, National Mandela University, Prof. Streleka from the University of Amsterdam.
Chancellor, I present to you Libopuwa Notsi for Doctor in Philosophy.
Congratulations, Dr. Notsi.
Masters in absentia.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Notsi.
Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you Masters in Arts, in absentia.
I confer the degree of Master of Arts on the candidate indicated in the program in absentia.
Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you Bachelor of Arts Honors.
I confer the degree of Bachelor of Arts Honors on the candidates indicated in the program.
In their respective fields. So that I don't have various-
I confer the degree of Bachelor of Arts Honors on the candidates reflected in the program with reference to their various fields.
Ngobi Buthelezi. Sinethemba Evelit Ncele. Bongekile Ketiwe Dlamini. Kwenza kwakhe Dlomo. Sinethemba Lady Peace Gama. Vumani Jerome Kumalo. Happiness Sindisiwe Magwaza. Sibonelo Anthony Mazibuko. Siphamandla Ngcwango. Xolani Nkosingiphile Ncube. Just slow down. Mandisa Ntombikaise Ndimande. Londeka Sinethemba Nene. Bukhosi bakhe Nkubeko Ngangula. Nkoliseleni Zethembe Sibiya. Masibonge Thembeka Ntuli. Azabenathi Baroness Sichaka. Minenhle Songaba.
Siphokuhle Nolikhoto. Nontethelelo Samantha Ntuli. Asanda Nelisiwe Zulu. Nomfundo Sindiswa Zungu. Xolile Nomzamo Mngadi. Nokubonga Sinenhlanhla Hlongwane. Bulelani Junior Makhubela. Senzo Samuel Mathenjwa. Sabelo Andile Mtimkhulu. Lindo Kuhle Sibusiso Mtlenyama. Amy Lynn Perkins. She receives the degree with a distinction. Nompumelelo Mendi Zakwe. Sipamandla Philani Dube. Zama Lynette Dube. Telumusa Wellington Kubeka. Lwandile Mfenqa. Thangithini Fezeka Nhlakoti. Meluleki Bekers Zungu. Nonkululeko Pretty Zungu.
Chancellor, I request you to confer the undergraduate degrees and award diplomas to the candidates as well as those persons absentia whose names appear in the program.
I confer the degrees and award diplomas and certificates to the candidates whose names appear on the program.
Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you Advanced Diploma in Communication Science.
I award the Advanced Diploma in Communication Science to the candidates whose names appear on the program.
Chancellor, in this cohort, we have a candidate who's deceased, and we request your permission to award the diploma to the family, and I request the Vice Chancellor to come forward.
Where is the parent?
Is the sister?
Oh, it's the sister.
Ma, this the mom.
Yes, I've got it. Chancellor, may I request the congregation to stand? When one of our graduates of today, a soldier, a student, a loved one of this university, has moved on to the next world, we take time to say, may her soul rest in peace. Nonhlanhla, Nombuso Matenj, your soul rest in peace. You may be seated.
Gcinile Nozipho Buthelezi. Nosipho Zinhle Dludla. Nokulinda Dlamini, a pass with distinction. Zethu Dodo. A pass with distinction. Mvelo Mbongeni Gumede. Nokuphila Khoza, a pass with distinction. Ngamsile Brightness Khumalo. Mandisa Pinky Kunene. Ayanda Tubelihle Machola. Noxolo Princess Mashiane, a pass with distinction. Nokukhanya Masigane. Cloris Koliwe Matenjwa. Bongega Matonzi. Letuktula Lamulile Mbata. Snempilo Slingene Mshongo. Nondumiso Sindisiwe Mkwanazi. Ngebo Treasure Mlambo. Tembelihle Slindokuhle Mlambo, a pass with distinction. Tembelihle Asanda Mlondo. Nontokozo Mncube. Zizipho Charity Mngqithi. Babongile Olivia Mthethwa. Nompumelelo Mthembu. Nomvula Victoria Ndawonde. Khululiwe Tholakele Njogo, a pass with distinction. Nomusa Sizakele Njogo, a pass with distinction. Madoda Nomaganya, a pass with distinction. Agcinile Nonhlantane. Fanele Hleziphi Ntenga. Nomusa Buhle Changase. Snotando Favorite Numalo, a pass with distinction. Likona Pel Kwabe, a pass with distinction. Mandisa Sitole. Setelele Lulama Stole, a pass with distinction. Nompilo Nogwazi Vilagazi. Nondumiso Notando Vilagazi. Nontogozo Charity Vilagazi, a pass with distinction. Nomzamo Olu, a pass with distinction.
Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you Bachelor of Arts degree candidates with their respective streams as they appear in the program.
I confer the degree of Bachelor of Arts on the candidates whose names appear on the program in respect of the various fields.
Nothando Minenhle Hlophe. Musa Austin Matsebula. Sibusisiwe Nokuthula Mkhize. Amanda Zulu. Dando Yenkosi Bengu. Senamile Naledi Biela. Makhosi Busiswa Buthelezi. Nombuso Khongco. Sibongile Dladla. Sandise Thulani Dlamini. Spesihle Nsindiso Dubazane. Thabisile Ana Gumbi. Isaac Luyanda Kumete. Samugelisiwe Penelope Kumete. Senzo Welcome Kumete. Mugeliswa Personal Kumbuza. Philisiwe Madlala. Qiniso Andiswa Masango. Velile Senamile Mbambo. Zanele Mbogazi. Patrick Andile Muzikayise Mbuyisa. Nomfundo Mkwaba. Wendy Sabatile Mhlongo. Lwazi Mkhize. Sindiswa Mkhize. Nothando Zinhle Mkhwanazi. Silindile Mngomezulu. Nontando Mnguni. Nokubonga Faith Mnyandu. Nonhlanhla Moses. Zanele Msimango. Charles Dumisani Mthembu. Nonhlanhla Angel Ziphezinhle Mthethwa. Sinethemba Innocentia Mthethwa. Sihle Talente Dimande. Andile Ignatius Ngobo. Sibahle Minenhle Nhleko. Nombulelo Lilebogo Buyisiwe Nkwanyana. Nolwandle Sibani Ntsele. Bulelani Vigeleni Nxumalo. Mbali Goodness Nxumalo. Amanda Sibiya. Lindela Gcinani Thabete. Nobubele Zwakusile Toby. Nonhlanhla Nombuso Qhakaza. Nondumiso Xulu. Nonkululeko Zondo. Zama Fortunate Zulu. Stembile Tando Zungu.
Phumzile Patricia Biase. Stabiso Buthelezi. Stokozile Duduzile Buthelezi. Olwethu Hlengiwe Xumba. Sibongile Dasi. Nomcebo Treasure Dlamini. Nomonde Dlamini. Pindile Dlamini. Phakamile Duma. Cindy Naledi Gasa. Nomzamo Nokuthula Gumede. Xolani Zweli Gumede. Zama Nonduduzo Gumede. Sandiswa Owami Gwija. Nhlanhla Talita Nomsa Hlatshwayo. Zanenkosi Zipho Zami Hlatshwayo.
Nontobeko Nicole Shongwane. Lethu kuthula Silindile Anele Shophe. Nondumiso Jobe. Lishi Themba Khumalo. Nombuso Patient Khumalo. Phakamile Khumalo. Nokwanda Valencia Kobeya. Takasani Stobile Lamula. Nosipho Nothando Langa. Ezile Abongile Lingani. Sandakashe Luthuli. Amanda Akona Makasela. Celani Magoso. Nonhlanhla Felicia Magubane. Wandiswa Adolf Malinga. Nokwanda Mbali Malwane. Noxolo Nokulunga Maphisa. Zizipho Masizana. Siphelele Mathaba. Ntsika Yezwe Will Owen Mathenjwa. Siyabonga Matsolo. Noluthando Samukelisiwe Mazibuko. Samkelo Mbatha. Ziningi Ncamisile Mbuyisa. Silindile Precious Mdletshe. Sphephile Mdletshe. Zama Saneliswa Mdletshe. Andile Khululiwe Nqulunga. Abongeka Meyiwa. Ayanda Valentine Mhlongo. Qinisani Nkazimulo Mhlongo. Nomfundo Ntombifuthi Mlotshwa. Thembelihle Nonjabulo Ngoma. Sibonelo Mnqayi. Nothando Noxolo Mthembu. Thandanani Mthembu. Nomathemba Patricia Mthethwa. Siphokazi Mpumelelo Mtolo. Thembelihle Mwandla. Noluthando Lungile Zinyane. Nomthandazo Mzobe. Celimpilo Ndlovu. Nhlonipho Ndlovu. Spesihle Minenhle Philasande Ngamu. Menard Ngongo. Andile ngubane. Slindile Penelope ngubane. Nomfezeko Nonduna. Saziso Fanele Njangase. Cebile Ntuli. Sizakele Silindile Ntuli. Enhle Renatia Nzuza. Abonga Asanda Khadebe. Nomcebo Okia Sabela. Tobile Fezeka Angel Shabalala. Minentle Shandu. Siphelele Shangase. Nosipho Prudence Shwala. Nontle Tembelihle Sibiya. Luyanda Thando Lwenkosi Simelane. Luyanda Nomzamo Wendy Sithole. Nokubonga Thobela. Cebo lethu Siphakamiso Zulu. Ntando yenkosi Love Daily Zulu.
Lihle Biela, Tombikona Chili, Emihle Chita, Senzo Jabulo Dlamini, Zilungile Happy Dladla, Nontando Sebenzile Hlekwayo, Masande Jiba, Pendugile Velile Khanyile, Amanda Nombuyiselo Khumalo, Zuzile Khuzwayo, Sizwe Snethemba Kubheka, Snothile Beth Lushongwana, Nosihle Malunga, Sandokuhle Snethemba Maphumulo, Nonhlanhla Nelisiwe Masondo, Nonkululeko Mgenge, Dumazile Precautia Mhlamvu, Nqobile Sanele Mia, a pass with distinction, Londiwe Faith Nomthandazo Mkhize. Bongeka Smiso Mthembu. Nomcebo Nomfundo Fortunate Mthethwa. Sanele Mthethwa. Xolile Samantha Mthethwa. Sibonakaliso Mthimkhulu. Anele Lethuthula Mwelase. Mbalenhle Nontethelelo Ncube. Dumazile Ndimande. Nomsa Xolile Ndimande. Thobeka Rurado Ndimande. Xolile Simpiwe Sibiya. Siphesihle Faith Ndlovu. Sithandiwe Mendi Ndwandwe. Londeka Ndwandwe. Sindiswa Amanda Ndwandwe. Akhona Claire Ngcobo. Sanelisiwe Melokuhle Ngcobo. Sibonelo, Love More, Ngcobo. Sibongile, Anele, Ngema. Thobeka, Ncomeka, Mfele. Kosinamandla, Philasande, Ntuli. Minenhle, Nxumalo. Nolwazi, Nokwanda, Nxumalo. Nobuhle, Zanele, Nzuza. Namile, Andiswa, Simelane. Bongiwe, Nosipho, Sithole. Nokubona, Lungile, Tembe. Lucky, Manqoba, Vilakazi. Nosipho, Nokwanda, Vilakazi. Talente, Siphosethu, Xulu. Thandekile, Xulu. Thobeka, Sinakho, Zulu. Mbali, Nokwanda, Zungu. Andile, Senamile, Mbonambi. Phiwokuhle Karin Mbongwa, Tamara Chloe Motley, Sphakamiso Innocent Mthembu, Andile Tobeka Mieni, Mbalenhle Prudence Sibiya, Londeka Nomvuselelo Zulu,
noma ngabe izindle zodaka noma ngabe izindle zodaka mntanami kusekhaya la kusekhaya la noma mntanami kusekhaya la kusekhaya la awunoma mntanami kusekhaya la kusekhaya la awunoma mntanami kusekhaya la kusekhaya la noma noma ihawube ngingazi ukuthi ngizohamba ngizefikela kwamnandi ubekezela awube ngingazi ukuthi ngizohamba ngizefikela kwamnandi ubekezela awukwamnandi ubekezela kwamnandi ubekezela awukwamnandi ubekezela awukwamnandi ubekezela awukwamnandi ubekezela kwamnandi ubekezela awukwamnandi ubekezela kwamnandi ubekezela kwamnandi ubekezela kwamnandi ubekezela awukwamnandi ubekezela kwamnandi ubekezela awukwamnandi ubekezela kwamnandi ubekezela umuntu osekhawula lamaqhawe umuntu osekhawula lamaqhawe Aw mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Umuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Aw mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Hey mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Aw mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Aw mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Aw mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Hey mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Aw mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe. Hey mamuntu sekhawula lamaqhawe.
Ditele pele, ditele pele, ditele pele, ditele pele, ditele pele.
Chancellor, as you know that the University of Zululand and our Vice Chancellor prides themselves in nothing but excellence. Our Vice Chancellor has requested all faculties to select the top 5 achievers. These are the candidates for their bachelor's degree program, which comprises of not less than 24 modules. Consistently, they have achieved marks of more than 75%. In the faculty were top 5 students. Some were awarded yesterday, some this morning. And in this session, we have Ms. Ngobile Sanele Mia, who has received 75.1% overall. Ms. Mia, can you please come forward?
Chairperson of Council, Ms. Namarashia Kaluza, in absentia. Chancellor of the University of Zululand, Justice Zondo, Vice Chancellor, Prof. X Mtose, President of Convocation in absentia, Mr. Nkwanyana, Program Director, University staff present, President of the SRC, Mr. Siemngela, Yaya, Mamilioni, Mnikazi wempuphu Khumalo. And the entire leadership of the SRC present. University Management Executive, Deans of Faculties, Dean of Students, Dr. Ngogazi, Abazali, okuyibona that have been with us, supporting and nurturing us. And finally, the graduates, Osingabo, Sanmonani, Niyaphila, Bo Mr. West. My name is Piliso Kulani Khumalo, the Secretary General of the SRC. Receive my warm and heartfelt greetings. We meet today to celebrate the journey of a black child whose journey has been flawed by challenges emanating from a poor background. We meet today to celebrate the victory of the downtrodden, dehumanized, and degraded. Today, we join hands with the young people from the dusty streets of our country to celebrate this enormous victory. We rejoice because this has not been easy for us as young black children growing up in a society characterized by anti-education stereotypes and anti-intellectual mob, triple challenges, drug abuse, and many other challenges facing our country. We rejoice because some of us have been told we are good for nothing, but we still made it. Young people, we must not end here. We must take up the fight against the high rate of unemployment. It is young, educated people who have the responsibility to take this country forward. Frantz Fanon correctly explicates that, and I quote, "Each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Close quote. It is up to us whether we betray or fulfill our mission, fellow graduates. Our mission should not only end with us getting our degrees. As a generation, we must become agents of change in our communities and be exemplary leaders in everything we do. A rhetorical question would, if it is not us, then who? If not now, then when? The spiraling level of unemployment is a sign that we must all change our thinking toward entrepreneurship. In fact, as a generation, we must fight to ensure that at the early stages of education, our children are taught about entrepreneurship. To our unsung heroes, abazali, abasebenza emakhishini, abadayisa emgwaqeni, abangathathi entweni, abaqokelela bengadlile, ukuze sikwazi ukuphila thina ingane zabo. Siyanibongela bazali. Sengathi uNkulunkulu angalula isandla abantwana benu beyithola imisebenzi bazali. Your children have made you proud, and I promise you that they will never forget the support you give them throughout the university years. Parents, this success is your success. The degrees belong to you. Maybe some of the students here are the first graduates of the family. They have broken the generational blockage in the family, and they will open doors for success, more joy, and happiness. Let us celebrate and be thankful to God and our ancestors for this wonderful blessing today. One of the important things that I would like to share with you is that as we understand the status quo of our country, we therefore have a task as young people when you go out there to advocate for the socialist system and abolish any form of capitalism and Eurocentrism. Now, about socialism, bazo understand. About sociology, bazo understand that. By making certain that all means of production are owned by the majority, not the few. We must be inspired by the ways of the late former Black South African leader, Chris Hani, when he defined socialism in the simplest terms, and I quote, "Socialism is not about big concepts and heavy theory. Socialism is about a decent shelter for those who are homeless. It is about water for those who have no safe drinking water. It is about healthcare. It is about a life of dignity for the old. It is about overcoming the huge divide between urban and rural areas. It is about a decent education for all our people. Socialism is about rolling back the tyranny of the market. As long as the economy is dominated by an unelected, privileged few, the case for socialism will exist," in a close quote. In conclusion, Denzel Washington reminds us that there's a lot of joy to be found in reflecting upon your experiences as you work toward your dreams. Learn to laugh at your failures, smile at your wins, and don't be afraid to laugh at yourself. The journey has not ended, but we must strive for newer and better challenges. Our graduation serves as a stepping stone as we move forward into the outside world. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that you will fly the flag of our institution and make us and your families proud. Before I conclude, I would like to recognize one of the SRC, former SRC member, Nomonde Dlamini. Congratulations, leadership. and one of my progressive forces, Stobile Lamula. She's also my cousin, by the way. With all this, I thank you again as a SRC, Salifisel Manpumala, Nitol Msebenzi, Injabuli Kwale Makaya, Magukanye, Siabonga, Siabonga, Siabonga. Thank you very much.
The Chancellor, Chief Justice Raymond Nyameze Lizondo. May I also acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Zondo over there, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Mtose, the University of Zululand Management Team, academic and support staff of the university, the President of Convocation and Alumni, representatives from the Mkwanazi Traditional Authority, chiefs of the local traditional authorities, mayors of district or local municipalities, business partners, abazali, parents, guardians, relatives, our sponsors, our special guests who are with us this afternoon, the SRC, our SRC representatives present here, and last but not least, our guest speaker, Prof. Make. Sanbonan, Molweni, Emalanga nje. It is a great pleasure to stand here this afternoon to express my gratitude to the key role players in this special event. I wish to direct just a brief analysis of the keynote speech that was presented to us this afternoon by Prof. Make, and I want to thank him for empowering us with such richness. Your speech was wonderful, was relevant, was enriching, especially to our graduates. What I can say in short is that everyone, I'm sure everyone here is going home with a message. And the message is no shortcuts. No shortcuts. And in delivering this beautiful message to the youth, you also instilled very, very important values. The value of responsibility, accountability, ethical behavior, and so on. And in your speech, you also tried to align yourself with one of our strategic objectives of producing lifelong learners. These graduates are lifelong learners. So you did talk about lifelong learning when you cited issues of observation, rehearsal, revision of what you are doing, and so on, and so on. And I thought that was very, very powerful, especially for the young ones as they navigate their path in life. There are no shortcuts. You have to observe. You have to try to do the best in what you are doing. So with those few words, Prof. Make, we are so grateful as the Unizulu community. And I think the most important question, which I encourage the graduates to take home, is what are you going to do with that qualification? That's a question from our guest speaker this afternoon, Professor Make. Thank you very, very much. Let me proceed, and please ladies and gentlemen, pardon me, I will just give a collective view in terms of my gratitude. I won't mention in the interest of time, but I just want to single out our Chancellor, Chief Justice Zondo. We know how busy your office is, and I can imagine that the hours that you have spent with us, I mean, for the whole day, what you might have missed in your office. Those files that we saw, I don't know who's reading for you, but we want really to appreciate your presence, to say we feel so honored. Thank you very much. Our Vice Chancellor, Prof. Mtose, thank you very much for your leadership. Yes. For making this event such a success. I'm not going to say much about it. And the Deputy Vice Chancellors, Professor Kunene, thank you for your role in making this occasion a success. And colleagues, as I said from the beginning, I won't be saying what you have done, but I just want to say, as Unizulu, we do acknowledge each and everyone's role in this room. The deans of the faculties, including our Dean of Students, the office of our registrar, which has been so busy for the past month or so. Thank you very much for taking us to where we are this afternoon. The communication and marketing division, you can see that everything is a trend. You see, thank you very much to the Communication and Marketing Division, our Protective Services Division. Thank you so much for what you are doing for us. The Information and Communication Technology Division, the Physical Planning and Operation Department, our health services down there. We acknowledge the presence of our Dr. Mashaba. He's been here throughout the week, with us throughout this week, and Sister Mkwanazi and their team. We acknowledge and we recognize the role that you have played throughout this week, and we want to thank you very much. We cannot forget our cleaning staff who ensure that when we come here, everything is in order. Thank you very much. And the flag bearers, we want to thank you. Our SRC, thank you. Thank you very, very much for being here. And last but not least, our choir, Imilonji Yasekhaya. Thank you very much. You've kept us entertained throughout the week, and we've been dancing throughout. And finally, to our graduates, bazali, sifuna ukunibonga kakhulu ngobukho benu apha. Siyayazi ukuthi nixakekile, khulise abantwana nabezisa kuthi nanu njengoba besitsho no Secretary General we-student we-SRC. Siyabulela kakhulu, siyabonga ngobukho benu bazali, and once again to our graduates, congratulations and the best of luck with your future. Siyabonga.
Honored guests, I hereby declare the graduation session officially closed. On behalf of the congregation, I thank you for your presence in this ceremony and now request everyone to stand.
Sanibona bazali